Good afternoon, I'm Shane Masters with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Just over 1 week since the implementation of a state of emergency in St. Catherine and Clarendon, there are allegations that persons are being arrested and detained in flagrant breach of the Constitution, as well as the regulations under the Emergency Powers Act. Attorney at law Isaac Buchanan is asserting that urgent intervention is needed to stop these breaches, which have caused more than 20 men to be in custody for significantly longer periods than what the law allows without being charged or seen by an officer of the court. He made the claims yesterday on RGR's Beyond the Headlines. Mr. Buchanan complained that situations exist where persons who were arrested earlier this year and granted bail are being targeted and maliciously taken back into custody under the state of emergency. He made reference to at least 2 such cases, of which he is aware, and has declared that he will be raising the issue at the political level.
If a judge grants bail, and it is not the easiest thing to get in the Supreme Court, officers who are dissatisfied that the person is given bail, which is his constitutional right, is breaching the Constitution to detain a man under the powers of the state of emergency and not bring him before the court to the judge who gave him bail and say why. And all you are going to say is he is suspicious of anti-gang activities, and you just pick them up. You are aware that they are on bail. And so I now have to track down 2 attorneys to say to them, the reason you are not seeing your client is because he is in the state of emergency.
Following an 11% increase in murders in Trelawny last year, the police in that parish is now reporting that plans which they had implemented are now reaping rewards. Commanding Officer of the Trelawny Police Division, Superintendent Kirk Ricketts, provided updates on the latest crime statistics while speaking at Thursday's sitting of the Trelawny Municipal Corporation.
We're currently looking at a reduction of 5 or 4% in major crimes in the parish. We've had 19 murders since the start of the year, and that is equal to the 19 murders last year. And the same thing for shootings. Since the start of the year, we have had 16 shootings, which is equal to the 16 last year.
Superintendent Ricketts says in an effort to continue with the reduction, a number of areas will be looked on.
The emphasis is on investigations and interdicting the activities of some major criminal suspects who are known to be in the parish. We have cleared 16 murders since the start of the year. Cleared up means there has been an arrest in incidents of murder, 16. Of that 16, 8 is for the current year. 8 of the 19 murders have cleared, which is, I think, around 42% in the number of murders that would have occurred in the parish, and 8 for previous years. It tells you that if you do commit yourself in this division, you are likely to be arrested.
In the meantime, Superintendent Ricketts provided an update on investigations into the robbery of $25 million in Duncan Hills, Trelawny in July this year.
We have since had some success in that region. We have arrested 1 person who was involved in that incident, and we are searching for at least 2 other persons that we know would have been involved. We have also had some successes that relates to a major incident in the township here, a former police officer who was killed during a robbery in Farmer Town. We have arrested one of the perpetrators for that incident.
The police in St. Mary are reporting an increase in reported cases of robberies since the start of the year when compared to the corresponding period last year. Deputy Superintendent of Police in charge of operations, Dalian Clark, made the disclosure at yesterday's sitting of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation. DSP Clark says measures are in place to tackle the increasing trend.
We have put some strategies in place to curb this trend, this rather increasing trend in robberies. we have done some cross-border investigations, as we believe some of the perpetrators which were conducting the robberies in St. Mary are also conducting robberies in St. Anne. We have arrested 4 such persons. They have been charged with illegal possession of firearms.
Robbery says efforts by the police to clamp down on robberies in the parish are being thwarted by victims.
Only one of our complainant or victim in those robberies have turned up at an identification parade. Hence, it is safe to say that victims are reluctant, and our strategies are being thwarted somewhat, and our investigations in those robberies, especially in the Zone 4, which is our Rockabessa, Retreat and Prospect areas, they are somewhat at a standstill now.
We now take a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories after these messages. Welcome back, continuing the news. The St. Mary Municipal Corporation says they will be doing what they can to assist vendors who were affected by the fire at the Gale Market on Tuesday. Following the fire, vendors at the market had called on the municipal corporation to pay for their damaged goods. However, Mayor of Port Maria, Richard Creary, says the corporation will first have to look at its role in that instance.
Some preliminary investigations, and whatever our responsibilities are, we will live up to those responsibilities.
Meanwhile, Councillor for the Gale Division, Doreen Hutchinson, has taken the fire brigade to task regarding the fire hydrant in the town of Gale.
So there's nothing there if in case the rest of the building was on fire and the trucks were out. And we have to take into consideration, we have the police station there, we have banks there, we have the clinics there.
Yes, Councillor, I have alluded to it before that we need more hydrants in the Gale area.
I said more, but there's none in the town. The question was asked about the town.
I stand corrected. So we need more hydrants in the town. And the response that you saw, the 2-unit response, it was to support, and if needs be, we would have called out Anata Bay and Sedans Bay and all the other bays should there be a need for. But you are right, Councillor, we need hydrants in Gale Town.
After 13 years, Montego Bay will finally get a new fire station. But as you'll hear in this report from TVJ's Anthony Lugg, more fire stations are to be constructed in other parishes.
Work has finally started to build a brand new fire station on Barnett Street in St. James. The area has been without a fire station since 2006, when the previous structure was demolished. Minister of Local Government Desmond McKenzie said the fire station is the first of 3 new facilities to be built.
I am pleased to say that the fire station for Port Maria work will commence on that by the end of October, and Cabinet just recently approved the contract for the construction of the one in Yalas. And we are expecting that by the end of the calendar year next year, that the country will have 3 brand new facilities to aid the firemen and women across the country.
He added that the stations will also receive trucks.
In this year's budget, for the first time in the history of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, we're not buying 1 truck, we're not buying 2. We are providing 8 brand new trucks at a cost of over $400 million. And when you take into consideration the trucks that we are getting from JSIF, for the last financial year and this financial year, the Jamaica Fire Brigade will at least have some 16 new trucks at its disposal.
In the meantime, renovation works will be done at the Montego Bay Fire Station.
I have indicated that the other station in Montego Bay, that one will not be closed. I have asked that an estimate be done so that we can renovate that one, keep that one going, so at least the capacity of the brigade will be able to respond.
In a release in June, the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, said it will be undertaking the World Bank-funded project under its Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Program. According to the release, the cost to construct the Barnett Street Fire Station is valued at $534 million. Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
Days after TVJ News highlighted the fears of residents in Mount Pele and St. Thomas because of a rotting utility pole, Light and Power Company JPS has taken remedial action. The residents complained that the pole was on the verge of collapsing. Additionally, being in the height of the hurricane season, they feared damage to property and loss of life because of the pole. They said despite repeated calls to the JPS, the situation had only gotten worse over the past 5 years. However, following a TVJ News report, a JPS team on Friday replaced the old rotten pole with a newer one.
I congratulate public service for the quick response that they have done for the community of Mount Pele. Now, they are not 100% complete. They are a little tiny enough to do, but thank God their response to the community of Mount Pele. And when you do good in public service, we have to say you're good, and thank you for your PD movements toward us.
But while they are grateful for the replacement of a pole, they are also hoping that the damage that was caused to some houses by the pole will also be addressed speedily. News now in sports. The Jamaica Tallawers is expected to be without all-rounder Andre Russell for their second Caribbean Premier League home game at Savannah Park tonight after the 31-year-old was struck by a vicious bouncer in the team's 5-wicket defeat at the St. Lucia Zouks last evening. Renata Brown reports.
The Jamaica Tallawers were 131 in the 14th over when the incident occurred. Fast bowler Hardus Villoen dug one in short with Russell looking to play the pull shot but missed. After receiving medical care on the field, Russell was stretchered off after an attempt to walk off failed. CT scans have since cleared the all-rounder of any serious injuries, and news that proved to be the only positive for the Tallawers on the night. Before Russell's injury, Rothman Powell 44 and Glenn Phillips 58 added 87 runs for the third wicket after the early demise of Chris Gale for a first ball duck and Chadwick Walton for 8. Failure, though, of the middle order to find momentum meant the team could only manage 170 for 5 from their 20 overs. From there, 3 drop catches were quickly forgotten as Rakeem Cornwall had supporters scampering. The right-hander hit 8 massive sixes and 4 fours in a 30-ball knock of 78. His dismissal, however, brought about a slide of wickets, but fellow opener Andre Fletcher ensured the Zouks would leave with the points as he took them to victory at 171 for 5. The result leaves the Tallawers foot of the table without a point, and head coach Donovan Miller fuming over his team's poor execution.
Yeah, it's really hard to take. We put a lot of work in preparation today. We spent a lot of time. We know exactly what the wicket was going to be like. We saw them bowl on it, and we knew that 170, 180 was going to be challenging on it. But for some reason, we know what to do, but we're just not doing it. Until the 10th over, we start to put the ball in the right area. It was very simple. All we have to do is bowl back off lane. We know that. We have enough experienced people there, but we're just not doing it.
The Tallawers will play their second home game tonight at 8 p.m. against the Trinbago Knight Riders. And with Russell asked to rest, there will be pressure on an already out-of-sorts unit.
Not a little. It put a lot of pressure on the team. Losing Andre as a superstar, as a world beater, that's a serious role in our team now. And worse, we have 3 losses. Something have to happen.
Renata Brown for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.